Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
It's welcome. Thank you for joining us on Ask Rob and Rob. You know the drill. You ask a question, we answer it. It's dead simple, but we keep on doing it because it works. That's why we do this every Tuesday. We can only keep doing it every Tuesday, though, if you send your questions in. We've got 2 crackers for today, but before we hear those, Rob, run us through the all-important numbers.
Yeah, so if you want to call in and leave us your question, it's 013 808 00035, or you can do it via our website on your phone or your desktop. And the link you need for that is thepropertyhub.net/ask.
Okay, let's crack on with our first question. This is Stephen from London.
Hi Rob and Rob, Stephen here from London. Thanks for all the content you put out. It's so helpful and I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. I've also read, I think 3 or 4 of Rob's books and they've just given me so much help and guidance and I really appreciate it. My question today is I'm looking to get a second property. I have one in Surrey which I'm looking to pull out some equity and use it into buying my second property. I'm looking to get about £30,000 to £40,000 and I'd like to invest up north. I just wanted to know what you do in my situation and what steps you take and just if you can give me some guidance to maybe a good area and how many properties you'd buy, and yeah, any help would be much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. Really glad you asked this question because there are so many people who are in this situation. 30 to 40k is a number we hear a lot in terms of an amount that people have managed to save or pull out of another property. And there's also a lot of people down in the southeast who are now looking to take out some of the gains that they've had over the last however many years and invest those in the north where it seems like the potential growth in the future is stronger and of course yields are better. So a lot of people are thinking what you're thinking, but you asked, so we're going to give you some answers. Let's start with the easy one, how many properties you'd buy. I would say with that kind of sum, you're probably looking at 1. You could stretch it to 2 and buy very cheap properties, but they would be very cheap properties. They might yield well on paper, but they would give you a whole world of hassle. And when you are living remotely, you're not going to be able to pop round there and sort out whatever it is. You're very much relying on a letting agent. That letting agent isn't going to get paid much for managing those cheap properties because they get paid a percentage of the rent, which will be low. So chances are it's going to cause you a lot of aggravation. It's up to you, but far better, I think, to just go for one slightly more expensive property that's going to give you an easier ride of it and get more capital growth as well. Next up, you asked about areas, and here it really depends on what you're prioritising. Are you mainly in it for capital growth, or do you want the rental income and to get the best yield you can? Obviously, in an ideal world, you want both of those, and you can get a bit of both, but it's generally a good idea to know what you want in terms of executing your plan and buy something that has the best chance of getting one or the other, rather than trying to get both and kind of failing to get either of them. That goes in terms of area and also in terms of what you buy. So, for example, if capital growth was your primary motivation, you might be buying into a city centre area somewhere like Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, and you'd probably be looking to buy something very central, probably a flat that's going to be likely to have the highest growth over the next 5 years or so. You can get a good yield still, but not the best possible yield, but that's okay because you're optimising for growth. If, on the other hand, you're going for yield, you probably would be avoiding the city centres and going for secondary areas where demand is still strong, but properties are cheaper and yields are higher. You'd probably likely, but not necessarily, be looking for a semi-detached house or a terrace in a residential area in those secondary locations. So work out your priority, what you really want, and that goes some way to answering what you should buy and where. However, I know that's not a full answer. The north is a big place and there are lots of areas to choose from. We can't pick one for you, but we can give you a bit of a process. So start off by picking a city or like a broad area based on some research that you've done or some particular bias that you have or some kind of knowledge that makes you favour it. Then get to know that area and get to know people in that area. Get yourself along to meetups, talk to the local agents, get a sense of which areas are best, build up your knowledge, see which areas get mentioned time and time again as being strong for the type of thing that you're looking for, and zero in from there. That's difficult to do purely remotely. It's not impossible. If you can supplement it with a few visits, that would definitely be helpful. But that's the kind of process that I would use. And finally, make sure that you've got someone strong in place to manage that property. perhaps someone you met during your research, because you're not going to be able to go and do things yourself, and you're just not going to want to be worrying about it. So if you can get the right type of property in the right kind of area and get it managed well, then that should be a pretty good use for your money, I'd say.
Well, Stephen, I think you just got a northern powerhouse of an answer there. Hope you find that useful and take action on it in the not too distant future. Next up, we've got Daniel, and he's planning to invest from further afield as well.
Hey Rob, Daniel here from London. Firstly, thanks so much for all you do in the podcast and beyond. Really valuable info and has been helpful to me so far, and hoping you'll answer my question. I'm an owner-occupier of a one-bed flat in London, currently in the last year of a 5-year fixed residential mortgage with Abbey. It's due to expire next April. Having risen in value, my intention was to remortgage next year to release some equity for my first buy-to-let investment. However, meanwhile, I've just been offered a new job in Europe, which I intend to take. It's great news on the one hand, but I understand it poses several dilemmas for both my existing property, and which I plan to let out, and a potential additional buy-to-let property. So for my existing property, I may get consent to let for Abbey for the next year, but I understand by the time I come to look at new mortgages, living in a foreign country means that potentially I can only get an expat mortgage for that existing flat. Now, presumably these are less preferential in terms of interest rates and loan to value, which may adversely affect my plans for the second property. We'll welcome your thoughts on this, any sort of options to proceed. I'm guessing you'll say find a good broker, which I intend to do, but how do I find one that's conversant in residential buy-to-let and expat products? Thanks a lot.
Exciting times ahead, Daniel. Plenty going on in your life, but I commend you for not letting property and your goals slip. It's easy to give up on property when life gets in the way, but it's great to see that it's still part of your agenda. So you are absolutely correct. The key to this is finding a mortgage broker who understands this playbook, who understands how to work with expats who want to invest in the UK. So how do you find that person? The great thing is, in Europe, there are plenty of other expats. And because of that, there are property meetups that talk about property in the UK. So our own meetups, we've got them in Switzerland, Denmark, Norway, and I'm sure it won't be long before we pretty much take over Europe. But the good thing is, if we're doing it and talking about it, there are other people doing it too. So try and connect with your local expat community and see if there is a meetup related to UK property. And if there isn't, join the local forums and try and start one. What a great way to network and build friendship groups with people who are like-minded. But even if you can't get a meetup started or there isn't a meetup near you, just finding a few expats locally to you who are investing, you can ask them for recommendations. Then you can go onto forums, and it don't have to be expat forums, but you can try them. But you can also try the Property Hub as an example and go on there and ask the question too. It's just the process of putting that effort in. Now, there is a little bit of effort there, but if you're feeling lazy or you just want to be efficient, and I prefer efficient over lazy, I can just give you an answer, Daniel. Check out Dave Cookson. He's been on our podcast before. He's from TCFS Financial, and he has worked with dozens, if not hundreds, of expats. He is the person we recommend our expats at RMP to work with, so I'm sure you'll have a lot of joy if you work with him. So go and check out some of the previous podcasts we've done with him, see if you're impressed, and if you are, get in contact with him.
So there you go, another couple of property questions dispatched. If you've got something rattling around in your head and you want to know the answer, just go along to thepropertyhub.net/ask. We would love to hear your question. We'll be back with Ask Rob and Rob next week. And of course, we have the property podcast on Thursday. So we look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.